Alright, I wanted to make a quick video about my 2004 Ford. It's an old truck. Of course, I've only got one 2004 Ford. It's got a rack on the back, so it's easily identifiable. I had this truck down at the Ford dealership last week. Had to have it towed in. I'd been having some trouble out of what I thought was to be the air compressor, the air conditioning compressor, locking up. It had done it a couple of times in the past. It bogged the engine down and would die. And then after it set for a little bit, I guess the clutch would cool down and it would start back up. Which I made that known to the man in service when I called about having the truck worked on. As a matter of fact, I made it known twice, even though it did not get on his report. All he put on the report was the engine bogged down and quit. But I did make it known twice because I called him about bringing the truck down. He asked me what was wrong. I told him. And he said, yeah, go ahead and bring it in. So I told him I would call him again when I got it pulled because I couldn't drive it. It wouldn't start because, again, it wouldn't turn over. It would turn over very, very slowly and then act like it would backfire even though it's fuel injected. And so anyway, after a day or so, I got the record company there. We had it towed down. I called him again, spoke to the same person, and told him again what I knew about the truck and what it had been doing in the past. And I thought probably it was just the air compressor, air conditioning compressor. And anyway, he said they would get to it within a day or two. A couple of days he called, said it needed a new battery. And the battery that was in it was only 6 months old, but I was in no position to argue with him. And so anyway, I gave him permission to put a battery in. And of course, this battery, which he acknowledged, did exactly the same thing that the other battery did. It would not crank the engine over quick enough to fire it up. The engine would only crank over a few times and then spit and sputter, and that was it. And so anyway, they put a new battery in it. Also, I want to note on their bill that they charged me for a battery terminal kit. Again, that charge was insignificant. It was just $12. But I want you to look. The only thing that I noticed they did was put these oxidation washers up under the positive and negative terminals. These little things, you used to get them at the Advance store for 79 cents. They're probably more, maybe $1.25 now, whatever they might be. But I do not see, I don't know which terminal they were supposed to have replaced. Both terminals have a lot of buildup on them. And I don't know if you can see that, but none of the terminals are new, so I don't know what the battery terminal kit was. Also, the mechanic, and by the way, this is Elijah. He's my autistic grandson, Elijah. So he's the star of the video. He likes climbing. You have to have stairs to get up to the truck. But also, the mechanic said that I was told that it was showing no oil, but when I got the bill, it did show that the oil was barely showing on the dipstick. I changed the oil in this truck. I put in what it calls for. It hasn't been driven long since I changed it last. It's not leaking. It would, where I park it, it would be a puddle up under it. It doesn't smoke or anything like that. So anyway, he said oil was barely showing on the dipstick, and he put 4 quarts of oil. Now, again, I'm not one of today's mechanics. I'm from the old school before all these computers and all those things. But I do know this, if you got oil showing on the dipstick, you don't put 4 quarts of oil. I don't think he put 4 quarts in it. He may have put 1, he may have put 2. I'll pull the dipstick out and hopefully you can get a visual. It is over full. I don't know if you can see how high it goes over full, but it is quite over full. It actually goes up to the bend. I'm trying to point to it, but I can't get my finger. Anyway, this dipstick's got a twist in it. It goes up to that, and you can see all the way down. I mean, it's at least 2 quarts over full, and I'm getting ready to drain some out of it. That's why I have it in the garage. Now, what I did, I took the belt when I had to have the truck pulled back up here. Their recommendation was to replace the engine. They said, and it was going to be $15,000, whatever it was. Of course, the truck's certainly not worth that. And I challenged that when they told me, and they said, well, the man I talked to, which was the same man I talked to from the beginning, he said, I'm just telling you what our mechanic said. He said he hooked it up to the machine, and the machine said that the engine was locked up and needed to be replaced. And to my knowledge, I do not know of a machine that will tell you an engine is locked up, especially when the engine won't even start. They never got the truck started. They never got it to do any more than what it was doing when it was towed over there. And then they wanted to say that the machine, the computer said that the engine was locked up. That I don't understand. But again, I'm not in, I haven't fooled, I don't know anything about these computers. But anyway, I got it home, and the only thing I did, I took the belt. Of course, this truck only has one belt that runs everything, the serpentine belt here. And I took it off, and of course what that does is all the pulleys on the front of the engine, it takes them out of commission. And so when I took that belt off, including the air conditioning, which is on the very bottom on the other side of the engine, and so when I took the belt off, I got in it, hit the key, and it fired right up. And so that told me that there's something with these pulleys, these belts on the front. Again, my thought was it's the air compressor clutch. And so with the belt off, I spun all the pulleys. All of them spun fine except the air compressor, and it was locked up. And so I went and got an air compressor for $150. Again, I didn't want to have to fool with it, but it took about 4 hours. It was actually easier than I thought. It took about 4 hours to get the old one off and get the new one on. And Elijah, get down, bud. I want to do something. Get down. Get down for a minute. And so anyway, it's got a new air compressor clutch on it now that's not locked up. And that's the only thing. If you've seen the video, you know I certainly did not replace the engine. And then it fires right up. Runs like it used to. And there's no problem whatsoever with it now. The only reason I wanted to make the video is I am challenging the bill. I paid a $400 bill, again, for them to do what they did. And the fact of the matter is, if it would have been someone who knew nothing at all, now I did take 2 years auto mechanics in high school. I wish they'd get back to teaching that for our young people today. And I did work as a Ford mechanic for a few years after I was out of school. Of course, again, that was about before they had these computers and things. But if I had no knowledge about an automobile, this truck would have been trashed. It would have been sent to a junkyard. It would have been sold for parts, whatever the case may have been. But it would not have been worthwhile putting that much money into it to putting a new engine in it. And so you just need to be careful, people. I tell you what, again, I argued a little bit with the manager over sales. Of course, with not the mechanic himself, I've never been able to talk to him, but with the person who answers the phone that takes the trucks in. And of course, they both right now are standing their ground. The sales manager did say he would get with the mechanic and see what has happened to get back with me. And it's been... I talked to him Friday evening, and it was late, and here it is Tuesday morning, and I haven't heard anything back from him, so I'm just waiting to see what they say. If he does not respond, I will be naming the dealership. I've taken 2 trucks to that dealership within 16 years of being here. Only twice have I taken vehicles down there, both of them trucks. One was a diesel that only had 60,000 miles on it. It was spitting and sputtering and wouldn't get over 55 miles an hour. I took it down there, and it actually was a vacuum leak that they had, Eli's fixing the truck now, but it was a vacuum leak, and they fixed it, and the truck ran great, but they put it on a computer, 60,000 miles on the truck, diesel engine. They put it on the computer, charged me $500 for that, and the computer showed everything in the truck was 96% as what it should be, or better. Every test they run, it was 96% or better. In other words, a new truck being at 100%, this one came in at 96 or better on every test that they run, and yet their recommendation on that was also to replace the engine, even though the truck ran great. And of course, I questioned that. Nobody had an answer. So 2 trucks that I've taken down there in 16 years of being here in this area, and both of them, they've said the engine needs to be replaced, and one of them ran great. I sold it not long after that, and this one here, $150 fixes it. And so I'm just saying, be careful, people. You know, again, I would have hated to have trashed this truck over $150 parts. I use it to run every day to keep from tearing up other vehicles, and it's certainly well worth that. So anyway, just thought I'd let you know. Don't believe everything they tell you at the dealerships or what the mechanics tell you.